What are the limits of free will? All right, that is today's question, and happy to see you out there. Welcome to my channel. This is Thomas, and I do educational videos on a number of different topics. At this point, we are just beginning, and we're in really our first unit, which is covering the tree of life. And I'm doing 144 plus videos on the tree of life to demonstrate its power and its ability to collate large amounts of information, integrate it, categorize it, and make it useful and easily accessible. Then after that, we will be studying many other subjects. We'll be getting into a lot of math and geometry here coming up, but more from a quantum level, not the way it was presented to you in school, but in a far more interesting way and more fundamental. But when we learn the tree of life first, it gives us just another tool to be able to kind of store that information and to recall it. And that's why I really like to use the tree, because it helps you learn other subjects as well. Okay, so today we're going to learn, do one of the 144 different minor aspects of the tree, and we're going to learn again another talk on the 12 major aspects of the tree. You can see the tree right here. You can think of it as basically like a map of our consciousness. And you can see that the tree has 10 different circles or spheres here that are numbered 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There's a dotted circle or sphere here called the abyss, and there is a 0 above the tree. So that makes a total of 12 different components. These 12 different components are really the major aspects of our consciousness, or the abilities of our consciousness, or the faculties of our consciousness, you know, the potentials of our consciousness. And we start at the beginning of life with just the 10 kind of open, and as we grow up and as we evolve spiritually, we move up the tree. Now we can get stuck at any point, but ideally, we would move all the way up the tree and open up each one of these faculties one at a time until we kind of merged with with God at the top of the tree. But that's a lifelong process, and most of us don't make it too far. Some of us don't make it anywhere. So we have to really understand the tree and things like the tree and spiritual practices in general just to even kind of make a dent in this. A lot of people, you know, the vast majority of the people either get stuck at 9 or 8. Some don't even make it out of 10. You know, if we learn how they operate, it makes it easier. It's never going to be easy. All these different aspects require a great deal of work to access them and to understand them. But it's the work of a lifetime. And, you know, some of us are up for it at this point, especially during this great awakening time here on Earth. Okay, so when we start at 10, 10 is really our survival. This is our instinct. This is our, you know, our faculty, our wild animal faculty, the law of the jungle, kill or be killed, our state of nature, and this is also the beginning of our life force. Our life force keeps us alive, you know, keeps our heart beating, keeps us breathing, keeps our organs operating, totally unbeknownst to us. Now, we can interfere with the life force by damaging it through things like addictions and defilements. Okay, now when we move to the 9th sphere, if the 10th sphere is like our wild animal consciousness, the 9th sphere is more like our domesticated animal. So this is what we get when we are in the home, growing up in the home. The first few years of our life, we're highly receptive in a mediumistic trance state, or a state of heightened receptivity, amazed by everything because everything is so new and fresh, and in particular by our caregivers, who we have become devoted to because of their nurturing of us. They clean us up, they feed us, they give us shelter, and that brings some level of devotion, and we eventually kind of just stare at what they do, and then gradually we try to start imitating what they do. And starts with walking and talking, and we have to practice over and over again. When we first start to walk, we immediately fall down. We get back up, we try it again. We get back up, we try it again. That's what it takes here at the ninth sphere. It's about repetition, practice and repetition. Eventually, after a long period of time, we'll get it, and then we memorize it. We memorize it, and it kind of goes back down into our body memory. So the ninth sphere is really our learning cycle, heightened receptivity, and then imitation, repetition, and then finally memorization. Okay, then the eighth sphere, if the ninth sphere is kind of about the domestic life, the eighth sphere is about the public life. So this is what we get when we start to go to school, we start to go to church, to the grocery store, to the rec center, or wherever, and we come in contact with what's called the consensus worldview. It's kind of the way everybody thinks, and everybody thinks that way, or at least we think everybody thinks that way, because this is controlled by the establishment. This is controlled by the institutions, the church, the state, the educational system, the media, the big corporations. They control, the faculties of our eighth sphere, our belief systems, and our rational faculties, the lowest level of our rational faculties, just the superficial concepts of our rational faculties. And so they pretty much tell us what to believe and how to behave. Now, the eighth sphere is a trickster, meaning that it will tell you a falsehood as well as something true, depending on what's convenient for them. So many times we are in the situation that the eighth sphere is where all the resources are, and this is where all the status is located. This is really presented as being like the goal of your life, to get into the eighth sphere, to become an expert, so you become an opinion shaper. And but a lot of times what they're telling you is true here at the eighth sphere directly contradicts your own experience about things. And so you're in a position where you kind of have to finesse it, because this is where all the resources and all the status are. You will be shunned if you do not accept the eighth sphere. They will kick you out, and they will make you persona non grata if you're not accepted by the eighth sphere. So you have to kind of get in here just to get the resources. But at the same time, you don't want to give up your own perspective on things and just say, oh yeah, well, the emperor is wearing a beautiful suit of clothes, and now I believe that for the rest of my life. Even though my own experience contradicts that, I'm going to have to just reject my own experience like I'm going crazy or something. Maybe I'll need to take some pills to to debunk that feeling that I have, so that I can recognize how great the emperor's new clothes are, and I can fit in here. Now, if you do that, what you're really doing is you're inverting your eighth sphere. You're taking your logical faculties, such as, you're using things like circular reasoning, rationalization, and using consensus to justify reality in order to be accepted here at the eighth sphere, even though you it's not true. But gradually one lie leads to another, and you eventually kind of convince yourself that, there was something wrong with me, that I didn't see the emperor's clothes, and now I see them clearly. So you end up kind of putting on a mask and pretending. your way through life and you can end up getting caught in the A sphere. Now, if you finesse it, then you just give lip service to the A sphere. You got to get in there and get your resources, but you want to get out before you end up compromising yourself. So you just kind of say, yeah, the emperor's clothes, they look great. Just give me my resources, and I will move on. And so then you move on to the seventh sphere. And the seventh sphere, if the eighth sphere is like about the real world, the seventh sphere is the imaginary world. So this is where you are once you kind of smell a rat here and recognize that it's not really all it's cracked up to be. And you come over here and you imagine something better. So you imagine a better alternative for the eighth sphere in one or more different aspects. So the faculties that are involved here at the seventh sphere include the imagination. You also have your creativity, your creative spark, and you have your pleasure principle. These are your abilities to put things together in new, original, and pleasing ways. And then you also have your inspiration, your ability to observe others who have come before you that inspire you and motivate you, and they've maybe done what you want to do, or something like it, and so then you can be inspired by them. You also have intuition, which is kind of like you're triggered by your curiosity. You wonder, how can I make this better? And by wondering that, you go into your heart and you're able to get answers, correct answers about how to go about this. Now, those answers may or may not be correct because you may be translating them incorrectly. So you have to verify your intuitions. But you use all those things together here at the seventh sphere to come up with alternatives for the eighth sphere, whether that's an invention or whether it's artwork or something like that. But then you also more generally use it to formulate a higher calling for your life. You determine, using all the various qualities that you have in your life and your situation in your life, how you can best be a service to the universe itself. And again, that also propels you up the tree. So when we get to the sixth sphere, we discover that we're really already here. The sixth sphere is really our center point where we are located. If there was a map, it would say you are here. And this is our free will faculty. We'll be talking about that today. Our ability to pay attention and our ability to make decisions. And so what we're paying attention to, though, generally is down the tree at our lowest spheres. But we have the ability to make decisions as well. So what we decide at our free will juncture is the decision to stop paying so much attention to the lower spheres and direct our attention instead toward our higher spiritual aspects. This is a tough requirement because it requires overcoming a level of fear, because when you put your attention up here, you're largely staring into the unknown, because we haven't really opened up these faculties yet. They're kind of a blur to us at that point, whereas this is our comfort zone. So we're really taking ourselves out of our comfort zone and putting us in a difficult situation where we are kind of it's unknown. But if we can do that, we direct our attention toward the fifth sphere, the next one in line. And our fifth sphere is really our sense of justice, sense of fairness, our sense of right and wrong. And you can think of it as karma. You can think of it as a mirror right here that reflects our actions. So when we act, it's cause and effect, karma, cause and effect. What comes around goes around. You reap what you sow. And for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And karma, what karma reflects or judges us on is, not only our intention, but also the violence, waste, and the violation that is involved. So if we are being violent, whether we know it or not, or whether we're being wasteful, and whether we know it or not, we are creating waste, and thereby we get wasteful in return, something wasteful in return. And so instead of like kind of playing the victim and complaining about how bad your luck is, that all these bad things are happening to you, you can finally recognize, by paying attention, you can recognize that I brought this upon myself. You know, I created it in the first place, and I just had it spit back to me. So you can learn how to correct your own behavior and thereby eliminate your karma. And so karma no longer is your punisher, but eventually it becomes your teacher, and then eventually it becomes your protector. Once you completely can clean up your activities, then nothing bad can happen to you, and you'll become spiritually immune. Now, again, before that even happens, you have to deal with your past life karma, which is also dealt with here at the sixth sphere through disciplined self-sacrifice, putting yourself through ordeals voluntarily, not being a martyr, or not being, not looking for a fight, but being able to structure your life so that you take on challenges in your life that can help you to deal with your past life karma. And then once you do that, then you get a direct result from karma, and you can learn, and then you can eventually become immune. Okay, likewise, if we target our attention on the fourth sphere, where the fifth sphere is about the enforcement of the natural law, the fourth sphere is about the articulation of that law. And this comes through ancient cosmologies, or even modern theories of everything, and the holy books, ancient holy books. Each tradition really has, some form of a fourth sphere, some kind of cosmology, a creation myth, and a way that all of the, qualities of the universe are explained. And this is best approached here with the synthetic or syncretic approach, by kind of studying as many of these different cosmologies as you can, and then learning to integrate them into your own understanding. Because all of the cosmologies have good things about them, but maybe they're out of date, or they're in a different time period, so they're hard to understand. And so you need to come up with your own understanding, and that's done by studying as many as you can, and then using your intuition, again, going inside and letting your heart guide you as far as, how to sift these through to understand it the best way yourself. And again, you have to do the homework first. You can't just ask for guidance without the homework. Otherwise, you won't understand the messages that you get. You have to get yourself up to a high level first before you can really go inside and get answers that you can work with. Okay, now then we go to the abyss here. The abyss is really our psychic powers. This has to do with our with omens. An omen is like a magnetic charge, and it alerts us to something. It's something that's outlandish, something that is anomalous, that's very different from what you would expect, way outside of the principles of probability, like a very far outlier from the standard deviation, from the norm. Many standard deviations from the norm. And this, as coincidences or deja vus or recurring themes, recurring names, recurring numbers. And they trigger first an attention, a noticing of them. That's our psychic receptivity. And they also, implicit in them is a course of action. And if we can take that course of action, then we activate our psychic heat, which is the second aspect. So psychic heat and psychic receptivity. Now at a point on the abyss, we also have all the other like psychic powers, the exotic ones, such as teleportation and shrinking ourselves down to a microscopic level, and telekinesis. These things are really the exotic psychic powers. We'll talk about them a little today too. They are mainly a distraction or a deflection from the true path that we have, and they can get us into a lot of trouble. They're very tempting because they're stupendous powers, but they're not really on the main track of spiritual evolution. Okay, then 3, 2, and 1 are at the top of the tree. These are our divine faculties within. This has to do with omnipotence, all-powerful. We tap into this through sound synchronization. The elements of the alphabet are the units of power, and we use them in mantra and other things in order to be able to kind of tap into our higher calling and to fulfill our higher calling. This is what we need in order to be able to kind of activate all of the other powers that we need so that we can fulfill our higher calling. Then the second sphere is omniscience, all-knowing. This is wisdom, our ability to solve problems. We tap into this through vision, through basically being able to calm our mind down to the point where we're not thinking. So we're not able to disrupt our mind. It becomes very calm to the point that it's transparent, and we can actually see the image of the solution by seeing all the way to our deepest center, because our mind is transparent. We can see through the mind, and we see the image of our solution. Now, at the first sphere, this is omnipresence, all present, all at once, eternally. And this is not only being able to see to the center, our higher self, at the center of the mind, but to actually be at the center of the mind, to merge with the Creator at a higher self at the center. This is a singularity where we recognize that what is at our deepest center is at the same as what's at the deepest center of everything else. So once we reach our center, we naturally reach the center of everything. And so then we are omnipresent, and we're unified with the whole universe. Now, if the 1 represents the whole universe, the 0 is nothingness or emptiness or a total mystery. This is the 0 is 1 is the whole universe. 0 is not in the universe. This is not part of the universe. No, there is no 0 in the universe. 0 is outside of the universe. But both 0 and 1 are part of the Creator. So 0 is not in the universe, but it is part of the Creator. 0 is the part of the Creator that the Creator reserves for itself. Okay, so those are the 12 major aspects of the Tree of Life. Now, in order to get to the 144 aspects, what we do is we take the tree and we basically fractalize it, meaning that we shrink the whole tree down to a small size that we can put it onto each one of the spheres of the major aspects. So, we divide the 10th sphere into 12 parts. We divide the 9th sphere into 12 parts. Divide the 8th sphere into 12 parts, ending up with a total of 144 different parts. Those are the minor aspects of the tree, what I call the stages of life, cosmology, spirituality, and history. But those stages are not chronological stages, they're dramatic stages. So these are the different dramas that we go through as we go through life, and we evolve spiritually. Now, these are the 144 that I've written up in this free guide that I'd love to share with you. If you want to click the link in the description, I'll send you out that free guide to the 144 fractal faculties. And each video, we're going through one of those fractal faculties at the end after I introduce the 12 major aspects or major faculties. So today we're looking at number 56. What are the limits of free will? And number 56 corresponds to the 6th sphere, and it corresponds to the abyss, fractal, within the 6th sphere. So the 6th sphere is about our free will. our ability to make decisions and pay attention. And then the abyss corresponds to our psychic powers, psychic heat, psychic receptivity, and then in this case, all of those kind of distracting and deflecting psychic powers that are more exotic and much more powerful. Number 56, free will can be triggered by radioactive instability. Stage number 56 is about determining whether we want to take our free will beyond the abyss by interfering with radioactivity, allowing us to play God. Radioactivity and other microscopic phenomena that are explained by random chance can be overruled by free will. Like everything else, free will must not conflict with the operation of natural law. But when events are explained by random chance, free will can be exercised without any conflict. Or can it? Free will can be exercised to veto mental processes, which are all interactions between electrons and atoms, microscopic. Electric current is life force. Electric charge is emotions. Memory storage is electric capacitance. Thinking is electromagnetic, and so on. Free will at the sixth sphere is achieved by averting our attention from our logical thinking at the eighth, and our memory and learning at the ninth, and our emotions at the ninth and 10th. We use our free will to escape from the matrix of our lower faculties so that we can begin to grasp our higher faculties. But when we get all the way to radioactivity at the abyss, we have upped the ante and are able to tap all sorts of exotic abilities, usually referred to as the psychic powers. Like mental processes, radioactivity consists of ejecting motions from an atom that cannot be predicted on a case-by-case basis, only statistically. But when we arrive at radioactivity, we are talking about higher forces at the level of the abyss. And at that point, hopefully, we will recognize that interfering with radioactivity is getting too far over our skis and opening a plethora of Pandora's boxes. We can gain some amazing powers, but will we then get stuck in the abyss and derail our true quest for the divine? Free will can get us out of the matrix of the lower spheres by exercising veto power over the lower forces of thinking, rote learning, and emotion. But as our spiritual evolution unfolds, as we study the workings of karma, the contents of the moral code and the laws of nature, and begin to learn the workings of omnipotence and omniscience, we recognize that our free will itself has become unstable. All of our higher spiritual faculties are structural, and we eventually come to understand that our path of least resistance is to actually forego our free will in favor of conformity with the true structure of the cosmos. We are free to create as much karma as we want, but isn't it better to obey the dictates of karma and thereby eliminate it from our life? As we go further into learning about our divine faculties, we realize that we must throw our free will into the abyss in order to continue on into an intimate encounter with our divine faculties. All of the highest beings, the heavenly beings, the logoi, have no freedom. They have given it up in favor of being in complete harmony with the structural constraints of the universe. We gain power, we gain wisdom, and we realize our higher self to the extent that we subordinate our free will to the dictates of the all. This is the paradox of free will. We must use it to decide to ignore our lower faculties, but then we must freely choose to sacrifice our free will in deference to our higher faculties. So we are freely choosing to give up our ability to freely choose. This is how to approach radioactivity. In radioactivity, there are 4 limits of matter: the rotational limit, the mass limit, the electric limit, and the thermal limit. Each limit can trigger a free will type of choice, as our free will faculty can take over for statistics. But these radio interactions are more fundamental, more explosive than simple currents, charges, and fields. This is exactly the point where we need to recognize the limits of our free will and to use it to decide to set aside our free will and allow the structure of the universe to operate and determine the results of radioactivity. We can step in, but should we? We are playing God by tampering at the level of the abyss, like the legend of Prometheus. Okay, that is the abyss fractal within the 4th sphere, number 56. What are the limits of free will? Free will can be triggered by radioactive instability. All right, now thanks for, and we will be talking about that much more as the course goes on, as the channel goes on. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. You can hit the like button. You can subscribe to the channel. Please do. Please also share the video with others. You can get my free guide to the 144 fractal faculties by clicking the link in the description. And it will give you guidance as you go through all the videos in this series. It'll just kind of give you a playbook, give you a scorecard so that you can follow along a lot easier, because each video just covers one of the 144. So it can be kind of unwieldy, but if you have my guide, it's just a quick reference to be able to kind of realize where you're at when you're watching the videos. And then you can also donate directly to me through Cash App and Venmo. Tomorrow I'll be back on to give you another video. I believe that this is actually the last one of the 144. I'll have to check on that to make sure. But if it is, then I will be giving you kind of a summary and a wrap-up then tomorrow. And we will figure out how to proceed from there. If I find one, then I'll do another one if it turns out that I missed one somehow. And otherwise, have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.